Your Rupert Murdoch was hacking the telephones of our dead soldiers. Your Rupert Murdoch was hacking the telephone of Millie Dowler when she was dead, and was deleting messages on her phone to make room for others that they could then listen to, thus giving her mother and her father the fake, false hope that their daughter was still alive when in fact she'd been foully murdered. Do you get my drift? Those of you who can't understand why I'm so angry about the Murdoch Empire?
In itself, a newspaper closing, not necessarily big news, but the story behind the headline is that all this threatens probably the world's biggest media empire.
2011 saw a major media industry company shaken by the revelation of its own ethical malpractices. The Murdoch Scandal has brought to light issues regarding the media industry's concentration of power and government regulation that has long needed to be addressed. The Australian government has finally decided to intervene, holding an inquiry into the communications industry and re-examining policies that could have an incredible impact on the entire industry.
The alleged misdeeds of Rupert Murdoch's now defunct News of the World tabloid may have transpired a world away, but Australia's Prime Minister Julia Gillard says the ordeal could spark a review of media laws in the country where the media baron was born. Murdoch's News Limited dominates the Australian newspaper industry, commanding nearly 3/4 of daily metropolitan newspaper circulation. Australia's Greens Party leader Bob Brown is calling for a wide-ranging parliamentary inquiry into media ownership and regulation.
Here in Australia, there's a sufficient concern about the potential unrolling of similar events in this country.
And I'm not surprised that that's causing in our national conversation consideration about the role of the media in our democracy and the media's role generally.
This inquiry has the potential to address issues which have been overlooked by both the government and the Murdoch Empire. Biased reporting, defamation and censorship. Yes, censorship. The idea normally attributed to totalitarian governments who keep their information from their citizens apparently in their best interests. WikiLeaks has revealed how far governments will go to protect secret information of their activities, sometimes illegal. The idea of having a government which is transparent and wholly open with its citizens is apparently not in existence.
This is the government's controversial plan to gather information on Australia's web surfing. Can't see all that much? That's because these documents were obtained by Fairfax under the restrictions of the Freedom of Information laws that allow the government to decide what is deemed in the public interest. And apparently not a whole lot of this is in the public interest to see.
The document that we got under FOI is so censored that basically all that's left is the page numbers.
It's really not acceptable for the government to be trying to head off legitimate, informed debate by heavily blacking out and censoring the kind of documents that they'll release on this proposal.
The freedom of information is an integral part to a democratic society. If these civil liberties, such as freedom of information, of expression and of speech, cannot be safeguarded by our government at this inquest, we are left to question, are we truly a free nation? Or are we only a few years away from George Orwell's dystopic 1984? Through the government's failed proposal of an internet filter, wanting to censor what we can access on the internet, it is obvious the government does not know where to draw the line in laws trying to protect us for our own good. We, at Uffish-Thought, believe the public must fight for our civil liberties, which could be infringed upon through the result of this inquiry. We must band together to tell the government when enough is enough. We want transparency from our media companies. We want transparency from our governments. We want freedom of expression. We want our freedom of speech. We want our voices heard.